Big changes are coming to Manchester United this summer, and big changes to Carrington as well. We all want a new training ground, and so do INEOS, but in the meantime, there's a new blueprint that's being laid out. And in this video, I'm going to run through what these changes are, exactly what's going to happen to improve Manchester United's horrendous injury problems, but also change the environment to build that elite performance culture that INEOS want. Let's get into it. I'm pretty excited about what's coming up for Manchester United this summer. I don't know whether it's going to completely live up to my expectations, but I think we'll be better in the transfer window than we have been previously. And when it comes to our facilities, both at Old Trafford and Carrington, changes are needed. But in the short term, and I've said this quite a lot, you have to focus on Carrington. That's exactly what INEOS are doing. Now, I've covered this article from, early May, about the overhaul that's going to happen at Carrington this summer. And now we've got a bit more clarity on exactly the details of it. Plans were submitted to Trafford Council at the start of May. They should be getting planning permission, and then United will kick on with that as soon as they receive it. But the first thing to remember about anything that's going to happen to Carrington is the fact that it's short term. Erik ten Hag, in the interview he gave that was released on the morning of the FA Cup final, said this: INEOS will change things in the club and certain projects have already started. Carrington will be completely destroyed. A new training ground will come. So effectively what this is here is the first, I would say, real example of a marginal gain that Dave Brailsford is bringing to Carrington. Temporary improvements to Carrington to overhaul as much as we can this summer before a new training ground is complete. Now you could just ignore the current training ground and focus on the new one. But instead, there's marginal gains to be had. And that could make a difference and should make a difference. And now let's dive into the actual details of it. 4 main points here about INEOS wanting Manchester United to become more cost effective as a business, right? And we know that's the case. We've got the credit cards being cancelled. The FA Cup trips being cancelled. We're hearing that Man United are going to have to avoid reckless spending in the transfer window. Therefore, player sales are going to be a massively important thing. You may well see some youth team players being pushed into the first team environment as well. Not to say that we won't spend, but we won't just spend 80 million on Anthony, 70 million on Casemiro, and a year or 2 years later need to buy another Casemiro. That's reckless. That's short-term spending rather than long-term planning and therefore spending like that. But it's these 3 points here that really sort of affect Carrington. INEOS want to introduce a more collaborative approach at Carrington by creating a new communal area for the manager, coaches and backroom staff, upgrading the gym facilities, what would that be? I'll run through in a sec, and cutting loose the staff who are not committed to the regime. So improving the 3 things there: improving the environment, improving the facilities, and improving the staff. Those 3 together will make Carrington a better place. Now let's go into the actual details of it here, right? So INEOS were impressed. This is what the Telegraph are reporting in terms of how they've looked at Carrington and how they're going to improve it. They were impressed by some aspects, but not others. The decor, branded as dull. And it was felt that offices should be converted into a communal area. Skylights will be put in the gym. There will be the new pre-activation and players performance area. Now, these here are the blueprints that were released by the Telegraph. Okay, and at the top you can see the current layout of Carrington, gym one end, canteen the other, offices around the sides, and the new one here. And you can see where the splits and the changes are happening. If I can just pull this up here, you can see this area there is now going to get turned into what? In fact, I don't need to draw on it. You can see exactly where the drawings are happening. A new one here, far more open space rather than your closed off offices. And on top of that, a new area being built here, a new area being built there, which, as the Telegraph reports, is more to do with the environment rather than improving elite performance. And if you look at a sort of a drone shot of Carrington here, it's this building here. You can see exactly why they think they need to put some skylights in it. This is the main entrance area where the stairs are. That's where Catherine reception is. I think that might be above the pool area there. But over here is where the gym is. Over here is where the canteen is, where the offices are. Yeah, you need more natural light in that place, first and foremost. So a lot of these changes that are going to be happening at Carrington this summer are actually kind of more to do with the environment rather than actually giving Manchester United's players any major new facilities. Now, the change from the player perspective is going to be about the new activation zone, effectively warming up properly. Anybody who's done any sort of sport at any decent level, warming up and warming down, extremely important. You imagine that Manchester United do that already. All right? Surely. But Gary O'Driscoll's been there since what? December? We took him from Arsenal as the head of medicine at Arsenal. He's come to United. And still the problems are massively there. But I think, well, you have to hope that things are going to be better next season. I don't particularly feel that too much of these changes here are actually geared towards directly making United's players fitter, better, faster, happier. Maybe it's more the happier. It's the environment. That's the main thing I'm taking from these changes. And I'm putting up these quotes here from Jean-Claire Todibo because I think they kind of give you an inclination as to what we're going to start seeing from INEOS, right? He speaks here about how INEOS, well, they put a lot of importance, on being around the players to give them the opportunity to have the best performance they can. And he's speaking about Dave Brailsford, and every detail is important. It feels like the majority of these changes here are geared towards creating an elite performance environment. And as far as INEOS are concerned, that needed this building to feel more open, more collaborative. They felt that it wasn't the right environment for that elite performance mindset to exist in. And on top of that, they're removing staff, wrong one there, they're removing staff that they don't feel are committed to that regime. So that's improving the environment, that's improving the staff, and improving the facilities is going to be about that new player activation zone. It's got a picture of Anthony down there. I mean, I don't even know exactly what that is. But in terms of new facilities, that's going to be where the new training ground comes in. And this is the ultimate goal. I've got Leicester's down here, obviously designed by McLaren. Fantastic, brand new, state-of-the-art, modern training facilities, which we need. It doesn't look like INEOS are really going to be investing in creating that. They're not going to build a brand new swimming pool. They're not going to build a brand new gym. They're not going to build a brand new inside football pitch. That's going to be for the new training ground that comes after. But in the meantime, Brailsford, Blanc, Ratcliffe, Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, it looks like they're going to focus on the environment of Carrington rather than the facilities themselves. And when it comes to the facilities, that's where we're going to get this. And I would expect this within the next 2 years. For sure, within the next 2 years. I think the Leicester's took around about 18 months, 2 years to build from scratch. We can imagine it's going to be the same process at Manchester United. I doubt very much it's going to happen at Carrington. I imagine it'll be a new ground. But we've seen that Man United have been looking at golf courses, probably because of drainage, good ground to build on. But in the meantime, this summer, there will be a big overhaul of the environment of Carrington. That's the main thing I would say is coming this summer, which I think maybe you won't get excited about it, but it could make a difference. It could well be the marginal gain. And I think that's what we've got to look at this as. I think this is the first real example of Brailsford doing what he can in the short term whilst ultimately aiming for that in the long term. So I hope that sort of explained it all to you. That's what we can expect when the plans start, when we see some evidence of it. I'll bring that to you as well. Make sure you do please subscribe to United People's TV. But I'm really excited about the changes that are coming to our football club. Genuine, actual, real change is happening. And we've been wanting that for a long time.